Good morning and good evening, geniuses. In this video, I'm going to give you some more INFJ perspective on exposing people, which sounds intriguing. But the short description for now is we're just going to talk about how we encounter people or situations where we find ourselves wanting to expose the truth of something, whether it's a person or event, whatever it may be. And here we are in this video, 2023. We've been through almost 3 full years of craziness, and I think it's changed all of us somehow, some way. And some of us, it's changed us a lot more. Those who have walked through it with open eyes and ears and trying to understand what's real and what's fake. And everybody's waking up at a different pace at a different time. But I think most INFJs, if not all, are keenly aware of the good versus evil things going on. So this is a endless topic. But I'm going to do my best to sort of explain some of the experiences I've had, and it's going to be generically, of course, like usual, because I don't want to give away specifics of my life. But I've had some very bad work experiences. I've had lots of different bosses, just partly due to what my job used to be, or jobs. I've had kind of several jobs in one for a long period of time. And I had some great bosses, just great people that I truly respected and still do. And then I've had the worst of the worst, the sort of Jekyll and Hyde characters, or just bad all the time, who create a hostile work environment and play games with you and with everybody and those sorts of things. And in hindsight, I would definitely handle things a lot better, but at the time, I did not mind talking bad about them behind their backs and spreading gossip, because I was spreading truth. I was telling people what was happening. And at first, there were times where I tried to confront said bad boss and just tell them, hey, you can't expect this of me or this person, because they don't know what they're doing. And, you always we're talking about narcissists, obviously. And, they never have a good answer. They're always shifting blame. They're always saying and doing things that make absolutely zero sense. So when you get to that point, and you're sort of at your wit's end, which I was many times, but for reasons I won't go into, I was unable to leave my job. And probably for a lot of people, this is the same scenario, but different place, different reasons. And so what do you do when you're in that place? Well, if you're an INFJ, you probably don't stop trying to expose that person. In hindsight, I wish I would have done a lot more. That's my biggest regret, is even though I did make a stand, I'm thinking about my most hellaciously bad boss as my example. But in hindsight, I wish I would have done more. I did sort of make a stand. I ended up basically reporting on him to people that were supposed to help in that sort of situation, and they really did nothing. So in hindsight, I wish I would have taken another step and done as much as I can, because I knew I was in the right, and I knew I was being blamed for things that I shouldn't have been, and on and on, because this was months and more than a year in the making. So I had my facts straight. I knew what was happening, but people didn't want to listen. And I kind of got to a point where, for my own sanity, I just kind of said, oh, you know what? I only got 6 more months to go. That situation is kind of over. I'm just going to leave it alone. But there were more bad things that happened, and kind of involved me, and some that kind of didn't. And I just kind of left it alone. And then I finished my time and moved on. But in hindsight, yeah, I wish I would have done more, because we are the idealists, we're the altruists, right? We want things to be fair, and you should never feel bad for speaking truth and for fighting the good fight as far as that goes. If you're a Christian, if you read the Bible, I've never found anything in the Bible that says that I shouldn't speak truth. We're supposed to speak truth with love. And so, yes, I haven't always done that well or gracefully. I think most of the time I did pretty well with my boss, because he was my superior, and I was aware of that, and I couldn't just disrespect him. But there's nothing wrong with going counter a bad culture. And we may not do it as well as Jesus did, but again, I find nothing wrong, and I found nothing wrong in doing that. And so I'm very, proud of myself for standing up for myself. And the last few years, I've done that very well. I've been hated and mocked by many people who were so-called friends, all the while I was essentially trying to save their lives. And there's a whole lot of info that has come out that suggests we were right. Not suggests, but proves. I'm just trying to be conservative with my confident answers right now. And I think you already know what subject I'm talking about when I say something like that. But I guess getting back to exposing people, when you're saying it in truth and love, if you're doing it for the right reasons, there's nothing wrong with it. And I truly believe and want to live by the sort of lifestyle of fearing God, not man. And, why should you worry about what the haters think about you? They're not going to care about you anyway. So don't worry about them. They're not going to be a part of your life anyway, right? And you don't even want them there. So why are you trying to worry about pleasing them? It's just so pointless when you think about it. So it's a little bit different story with family, obviously, because you don't want to just shun family and then realize 30, 40, 50 years later that you should have had a better relationship with them. And maybe INFJs are really good at imagining the future that far out and thinking, oh yeah, I don't want to be the grumpy old man who suddenly realizes that they shouldn't have done that, and then tries to reconnect it with family, and they don't want anything to do with you, which it's a two-way street. But I think I'm really good about imagining what the future I'm currently creating is, what that might turn out to be 50 years later, and then deciding to make changes. Not everybody does that well, or is that introspective, but you should. You should think about those hard truths, but it doesn't mean be a people pleaser, and it doesn't mean to speak up or say what's truth when you're in an environment of total falsehoods or anybody mocking you or trying to belittle you for what you're saying. If you know you're right or even half right, I don't know, it's such a weird thing to talk about without specifics, I suppose, but trying to convince people is somewhat pointless to some degree, unless you're giving an actual presentation and they're listening to you. If somebody doesn't want to listen to you, that's one of the best things I've learned the last few years is if you just started talking to somebody who doesn't want to listen to you, then just stop right there, because you're just wasting your energy and your time, and you could be doing better things with it. So I guess the good news, I want to end with something good at the end of every video. And the good side is you can use all that energy for good. And if you want to share truth in some fashion, then share away. But there's no need to be arguing with people, and there's no need to be constantly trying to present it to people who don't want to hear it. The online world is a beautiful thing because you can find a lot of people who are open to what you have to say. And public opinion will decide whether you're true, whether you're correct or not. And another great thing about standing up for what's true and actually being courageous enough to say it is that you may be right most of the time, and sometimes you'll be wrong. But you'll learn from those experiences, and you'll get better at it. Just like if I think back to 2020 compared to 2022, I got way better at the manner, demeanor, tone of how I shared things, and just my thought process. Like, should I say that? Maybe I should say it a different way. Not to necessarily overthink how you say things, but just wiser, a more mature way, perhaps, and not trying to come across so, I don't know, like a know-it-all, right? Which I never thought I was, but words do matter, how you say things. And so you do want to present yourself professionally if you're doing that sort of thing. But the good news is you can manage that energy and preserve it very well. And you just don't need to worry about the haters in your life. The people that will truly understand you and love you, they will listen. And you can discern who those people are. The ones that you feel like you're constantly fighting with or sort of bumping heads with, things just aren't vibing, then you just need to kind of avoid it as much as possible. And if you're in a place where you can't avoid it to some extent, you just have to make your own strategy the best you can and preserve your energy. Find opportunities to get away, find ways to be distracted in a healthy way. Make sure you're getting good food, good waters, and sleep, and all those things that help your body deal with stress. But INFJs are sort of self-development crazy, maybe. At least I think I am, because I feel like I'm always trying to outdo my last day, week, year, and it's just an ongoing thing. And I don't have to even think about it or try to do it. It just happens. So just keep trying to be your best. And as long as you look at every failure, quote unquote failure, as an opportunity to learn something and improve, then the next time you won't have that problem. And life does get better and better, I think, for an INFJ as we get older. Not necessarily always easier, but it gets better because we get more clarity and understanding of not only the world, but how we can best interact with it without just spending all of our energy constantly. And I can only say that from hindsight, that I've improved by leaps and bounds in the last 10, 20 years. So I'm not sure if any of that was helpful, but if you're still listening, then I'd love to hear from you. And if you've had any experiences sort of being the truth teller or going against the grain of society, like many of us have experienced, things are getting better. They're getting better for people like us. And it doesn't mean the next year is going to be easy, but there is definitely an awakening happening. So have hope and look forward to the future. Keep tuning your strategy to see how you can do things better for yourself and make things maybe a little easier, a little smoother, and just learn how to avoid the same problems. If you notice the same problem happening over and over again, then I guess or doing the same thing over and over again with the same problem is kind of the definition of insanity. So it's time to change it, right? So just pick one thing at a time and make little changes and improvements, and you'll have a better year or next year. So that's it for now. Until next time, I'll see you later, geniuses.